Now that the roof was done, we were going to focus on the insides and the outside of the house at the same time. As we were protected from the weather, there was no wind or snow coming inside the house, so we had the confidence to start insulating the house. In Finland, it gets pretty cold, so we started the insulation by putting 200 millimeters of soft wool insulation in the walls. After the 200 millimeters of wool insulation, we are gonna put the vapor barrier, plastic, and after that there's gonna be another layer of 50 millimeters of wool insulation. Doing construction work here in Finland where it gets below freezing might look pretty rough, but we're used to it at this point. Usually we try to start the construction work during summer when the ground is not frozen, so the excavation work would be easier. Framing and all of that kind of stuff can be done in the winter, so that's why we try to start during the summer and end right around the next summer. Now, as we're heading back inside, we're going to focus on the wall that's going to be dividing the two apartments. And we're going to be extra careful that the wall between the two apartments is going to be built according to regulations and according to the plans. The wall between the two apartments is actually not just one wall, it's actually two different walls. And both of the walls have double drywalls on top of them. And there's going to be a little bit of an air gap between the walls to make it more soundproof. So the wall between the two apartments, it's going to have to be soundproof and it has to withstand a fire for 60 minutes. I'm going to show a picture of the double wall here. So it's going to have two frames and both of them are going to have wool insulation inside of them, and it's going to have double drywalls on both sides of them. And there's going to be the little 20 millimeter gap in between the two walls. This type of wall that's between the two apartments is more soundproof than a 200 millimeter concrete wall. As a construction site foreman, I've been building also apartment buildings, and the concrete walls are not as soundproof as this specific wall. This wall structure is going to be the same in the first floor and the second floor, plus it's going to continue to the attic and from there up until the roof. That is to make sure that there's no way that a fire can go in less than 60 minutes from one apartment to the other. Also, it makes the apartments pretty soundproof against each other. On the second floor, we installed, of course, some step sound insulation, and that is to make sure that the sounds coming from upstairs are not going to be as loud when we're listening from downstairs. So the step sound insulation is going to be a good barrier for making sure that any concrete is not going to touch any wood. Also, the step sound insulation is a good base to put on the underfloor heating pipes. Now, during this part of the construction work, as you can see, the electricians and the plumbers are working hard now so we can cover up all of the walls and the roof. And as a little bonus for the second floor, we did not install any rebar to the floor. I decided that I would want to try to put some fiber in the concrete because the fiber can actually replace all of the rebar. The fiber concrete should do as good of a job as the rebar, but we're going to save a lot of time in installation work. Plus, the fiber was actually a lot cheaper than purchasing all of the rebar and putting them into the floor. So I'm excited to see how this one is going to work out. I've only heard about fiber working in theory, but I've never seen it in action. So this is the first time I'm seeing this in action. And now that I've actually done the project, I haven't seen any cracks in the concrete, so I could actually recommend it for you guys as well. It saves a lot of time and it's a lot cheaper, so I don't understand why we still put rebar into floors. As you can see, a lot of framing was still to be done, but luckily after the framings there was only 50 millimeters of insulation left, so it was gonna be a quick job. During the time we were insulating the walls, we were also insulating the roof. The roof is very crucial for heat insulation because heat usually rises upwards, so a lot of heat is going to be disappearing through the roof. That's why in Finland, according to regulations and my plans, there's going to be a lot of wool on top of the roof. It's going to be a minimum of half a meter, so 500 millimeters. This is to make sure that the roof is the most insulated part of the house. The insulation of the roof is done by blowing some blowing wool onto the roof. This is the quickest way of insulating the roof. As the plumbers and the electricians were getting all of their work done, plus we got our 50 millimeters of wool insulation to the walls, we could finally start the job. I imagine that putting on drywall to the walls is pretty much same here as it is around the world, so it's not going to be anything special here. But in Finland there's this company called Saint-Gobain that pretty much produces all of the drywalls here in Finland. And Saint-Gobain is the one that produces all of the different kinds of drywalls as well. The basic one is GN13, which means a basic drywall for basic applications that is 13 millimeters thick. Then we have this drywall called EK, which means extra tough, and that kind of drywall is usually used for bathrooms, as there's going to be more load on the walls because we're going to be tiling the bathrooms. Also for this project, we used the tougher drywalls for bathrooms and all of the places that needed some extra toughness. Here you can see video material of the fiber concrete and all of the little fibers that are going through the concrete. The fiber in the concrete can be plastic or metal, it doesn't really matter. Here I chose plastic because plastic does not have the risk of starting to erode, and there's not going to be that much tension on the concrete, as concrete is pretty good at taking pressure but is not that good in taking any pulling forces. But there's not going to be any pulling forces here as it's just a floor. The joists and the beams on the second floor are going to be taking all of those pulling forces. And now, after all of the drywalling was done, the leveling and the painting crew could finally start their job. As the leveling and the painting crew were leveling the house from the insides, we were focusing on the outsides of the house. We were installing all of the panels and we were starting to do the installation of the eaves. The panels came already painted and in the right color, so we didn't have to paint the walls from the outside of the house. I thought that paying a little bit of extra money for getting all of the panels in the right color was going to save me money in the long run, because painting the house from the outside is going to be a lot of work, so it was going to be easier just to buy the panel already done. But the eaves were going to have to be painted out anyways, and I decided that I was going to do it myself, but not now because it was too cold. I was going to have to wait that the weather was going to get warmer so I could actually paint the eaves. Usually paints are not that good against freezing weathers. I've heard that some new paints have come to the market able to withstand freezing weather, but I was not going to be the first one to take the risk and try out these new products. In the insides of the house, the leveling crew were first, they were doing the seams of the walls. They put on the seam tape to the seams and then they put filler on top of the seams. During this time, they're also going to be filling out all of the screw holes and making sure that there is not going to be any imperfections in the walls. After the seams have dried out, they're going to be spraying out the first layer of filler. This is called the bottom layer of filler, and there's going to be 2 layers of fillers. There's going to be the bottom layer and the top layer of filler. The fillers already make the house look pretty white, and they also straighten out all of the imperfections left out by the previous crews. This is one of the messiest jobs on the job site, so it's really good to make sure that you have all of your things covered that you want to protect from all of the plaster. And as you can see, when we were installing the vapor barrier plastic, we put the vapor barrier plastic on top of the windows and the doors so we wouldn't have to protect them again against all of the plaster. Here in Finland, the leveling crews and the painters are not really shy of making a huge mess, so you want to be extra careful to take out all of your valuable equipment outside of the house, or at least cover them up really well. Also, usually when the leveling crew is starting their job, the tiling guy is starting his job at the same time. Usually they're fighting a bit because the tiling guy does not want to be breathing in all of the fumes from the plaster guys, but usually I let them just fight it out and let them do their job. But usually the painting guys and the tiling guys are able to somehow live together and do their jobs at the same time, even though I usually hear a little bit of argument in the background. But after the bottom and the top layer of fillers, we can finally start the painting job. The first layer of paint is done by spraying, and the second layer, the top layer, is done with a roller. And here in Finland, usually people choose painter's white for their house, but in this case I chose paper white. Paper white has been getting a lot of traction now here in Finland, and lately I think more people are choosing paper white instead of painter's white. And also, as I'm choosing the paints, I'm choosing the different kinds of glossiness levels that the paints are going to have. I chose that the walls and the roofs are both going to be paper white, but they're going to be different glossiness levels. The roof is going to be glossiness level 3 and the walls are going to be glossiness level 7. The glossiness scale is from 0 to 20. 20 is the most glossiest and 0 is the least glossiest. The more glossier the walls or the roofs are, the easier it is to see imperfections. And usually roofs are the worst, as the light is coming in at awkward angles and usually they show out all of the mistakes. So choosing a dimmer paint here is crucial. And in my opinion, a lot of builders here in Finland, they also choose dimmer paints. 7 is a normal glossiness level for walls, and usually all the hardware stores have a lot of 7 available. I like the dimmer roofs because it does not show as many imperfections as glossier paints. So as winter is coming to its end and the carpenters stuck it out through pure grit and good clothing, the outsides of the house were almost finished. And now that the painting crew was done, we could start focusing on the insides a little bit more. During about this time, the plumbing company went under and I lost a little bit of money there. There was also a huge question mark about who was going to finish the plumbing job as the previous plumbing company went under. But luckily the same company that did the electricity work for me came up clutch and offered to do the rest of the plumbing work as well. Usually companies don't want to come and clean up some other company's mess, so the electricians really helped out here a lot. But anyways, after the leveling and the painting crew left, we could start the installation of furniture and the kitchen. And after the kitchen, of course, we were able to start the installation of the vinyl flooring. As the furniture guy was installing all of the furniture, we were waterproofing the balcony's waterproofing was done by 2 layers of felt covering, which is a pretty basic here in Finland of doing waterproofing. But as you might have already guessed, I'm not a huge fan of felt covering, so that's why I did not choose it for the roof of my house. And after the waterproofing of the balcony, you can build out the deck of the balcony pretty much the same as any deck, with an exception that there's waterproofing underneath, so you cannot put any screws through the waterproofing. You have to also make sure that all of the water that's going to go through the deck has a way of flowing into the gutter. But moving on back inside, as the furniture guy was moving along, I was able to start the installation of the vinyl flooring. So as I wanted to hurry up with the project, we installed the stairs at the same time as I was installing the vinyl flooring. The staircase is the centerpiece of the house. So here I went a little bit crazy and I chose one of the most expensive stair companies that we have out here. But in my opinion, the stairs came out amazing, so no regrets here. During the designing process of the house, I knew that the stairs were a crucial piece of the house, so this was not the place to be cheap. And I'm happy that I chose the company that I chose. Also during this time, the tiling guy was doing all of the tiling work in the bathrooms, but unfortunately I was not able to get a lot of video material of it. But if I'm not wrong, I would guess that tiling jobs are pretty much the same across Europe, and maybe it's the same in America as well. First, we need to make sure that the concrete is dry enough so we can install the waterproofing. Here we have a lot of ways to test the dryness of the concrete, but one of the surest ways is to do a drill. But usually we test out the dryness of the concrete by drilling holes into the concrete and measuring the moisture level directly. After drilling out 3 holes, 2 of them are deep holes and 1 of them is a shallow hole, we cover up the holes and we let them even out for a couple of days. After a couple of days, we come there with the measuring device and then we measure the humidity level of the concrete through the holes. All waterproofings have the different acceptable limits marked in the label of how wet the concrete can be during installation. So here our waterproofing had a humidity level acceptance of 90%. But as we poured the concrete so early on, the concrete was super dry at this point. But before putting on the waterproofing, the tiler needs to make sure that there's proper drainage in the bathrooms. Usually the tilers make sure that there's not going to be any problems with the drainage. So that means that the tilers never accept what you've done, so they always make sure to make the drainage a little bit better. After the tilers make the drainage in the bathrooms better, then they put on the waterproofing. And after the first level of waterproofing, they let it dry out and then they put on the second layer of waterproofing. And before starting the tiling process, they take the test pieces to the responsible foreman, which in this case is me, and I make sure that the test pieces are according to the product's requirements. In this case, the waterproofing needs to be at least 0.4 millimeters thick. If I remember correctly, the waterproofing was around like 0.6 millimeters thick, so it was 50% more thicker than it needs to be. So I gave the green light for the tiler guy to start tiling. The tiling job can be done by starting with the walls or the floors first. But usually here in Finland, the tiler guys prefer starting walls first, and I think that is because they don't want to make a mess on the floor tiles, so they prefer installing the walls first, then cleaning out the floors and then installing the floor tiles. But as I said before, I'm guessing that the tiling process is pretty much same around the world. Moving on back outside, in the backyard, we were starting to build a garage. And the garage was also gonna have 2 half-warm storage spaces in them. Half-warm meaning that the temperature inside of these storages is not gonna be 22 degrees Celsius, but it's gonna be somewhere around 10 degrees Celsius in the winter, so anything stored in there is not gonna be freezing. This also means that the insulation of the garage's storage space is not gonna be as good as in the main house. But otherwise, the framing process and everything else is pretty similar to the main house. There's gonna be the vertical frame, then there's gonna be the roof trusses, then there's gonna be the windshield barrier, there's going to be more framing, there's going to be installation of the insulation, there's going to be drywall on the inside and panels on the outside. So pretty much same as in the main house, except in a smaller scale. And for the garage, as it's a bit smaller, I got some cheaper panel and decided that I was gonna paint it myself. And because I usually don't do a lot of painting, I thought that painting a little garage might be fun also. Going back inside, the bathroom still needed the panel installation to the roofs and the door installations, and the doors were still to be installed. And of course, after the door installation, there's also gonna be the baseboard installation and the cover strip installation as well. All of the furniture was installed at this point, and most of the vinyl flooring was also installed at this, so we could start the installation of the doors. I would also imagine that installation of basic doors is pretty universal, so nothing really special here. The doors are put in place and then they're fine-tuned with K-screws. Also, almost all the houses in Finland have a sauna, so let's go upstairs and see out how the sauna installation is going. The sauna needed installation as well, as we didn't want all of the heat to go out of the sauna too quickly. So we installed 30mm of insulation all around the sauna. The waterproofing of the floors goes on top of the insulation, and then there's gonna be aluminium paper going all around of the sauna. After the aluminium paper, we do the framing, and then we install all of the panels on top of the frame. All of the wooden materials in the sauna are heat-treated aspen. The heat-treated panels on the roof of the sauna were fitted with LED lights to give it the feeling of a night sky. The sauna stove is of course Harvia, a famous Finnish brand that makes sauna stoves. I hope that all of you people around the world also use Harvia sauna stove. Well, moving on from the sauna, let's go to the baseboard installation and the cover strip installation. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of material about it because it's pretty mundane, as the installation of strip boards and cover boards is just cutting them up to the right size and putting them on with a finishing and installing them onto the wall with a finishing nail. But the yard needed a bit of work after the winter, so we started the excavation job again to finish out the yard. So we got some soil to the construction site to make sure that the grass that we were going to be planting would start to grow good. We also bought some crushed stone with a smaller rock size to make sure that the driveways have a finished look. If the driveways have crushed stone that has a bigger stone size, it makes it look really unfinished. So in this case, using crushed stone that has a smaller rock size really makes sure that the driveways have a professional and finished look. As we were getting soil on the plot, we also got some soil between my plot and the neighbor's plot. And later on, we actually installed some bushes there to separate the plots even better. And now, as we're heading to the end of the project, here is the time I'm gonna show you the finished product. So the building has two houses that are connected, and they each have 4 rooms, a kitchen, a utility room, 2 bathrooms, a sauna, a walk-in closet, a balcony, and a deck as well. The main floor has the kitchen, the living room, the utility room, and a bathroom as well. The upstairs has the master bedroom, which also has a balcony in it. It also has the walk-in closet and another bathroom, the showering place. It also has the sauna and 2 additional bedrooms as well. Each of the apartments is about 120 square meters, and during the filming of the apartments, the balcony didn't have the glasses or the sauna didn't have the glasses in them, but we installed them after the filming of the video. Now here's one of my favorite parts about the house. It's when we're going to the outside porch and there's a beautiful view straight southwards, and we're going to be capturing all of the sunlight as the backyard is pointed straight towards the south. Now going back inside through the big sliding doors, we get straight back to the living area and the kitchen. I made sure to not get any cheap appliances because I knew that when I was acquiring them, I didn't want the people that were going to be living there to have to upgrade all of the appliances immediately, so I made sure to get really good appliances straight away. The kitchen has an oven and a microwave, and the microwave has a built-in oven function as well. We also have a dishwasher and an induction stove that has a built-in activated carbon filter I've never seen an activated carbon filter stove in action, so I was really excited to install one of them in this house and try it out. In the main living floor, we also have the bathroom, and in my opinion, it's really important to have a bathroom right next to the main entrance of the house. Usually when people come to their house from, let's say, a long day of work or straight from the grocery store, they really need to go to the bathroom, so it's really important that the bathroom is close and not at the other side of the house. Also, the utility room is here downstairs. That is because when you have strollers or dogs, you really don't want them to go through the main entrance and make the main entrance really messy. That's why we have an entrance straight into the utility room. All of the mess can stay in the utility. Now going upstairs, you can see on the right side and straight in front of you 2 different bedrooms. On the right side, we have a smaller bedroom that is perfect for your offspring, and the other bedroom is a little bit bigger and is more suitable for offspring that need a little bit more space. The bigger bedroom can also maybe fit even 2 or 3 of your offspring. Here is the door to the master bedroom and the balcony as well. The view, in my opinion, is pretty nice, also mainly because it's pointed towards south, so drinking your morning coffee would be pretty nice from the balcony here. The master bedroom is fitted with a walk-in closet. The walk-in closet is not that big, but at least you can say that you have a walk-in closet. The ceiling height is above 2.5 meters. You can fit a lot of shelves there, so you're not going to be running out of storage space anytime soon. Then we go through the hallway into the bathroom, where we have the double sinks on the left and of course the double showers on the right. The double sinks and the double showers are, in my personal opinion, a big deal. That is because usually when you're doing activities with your partner, you usually want to use the sinks and the showers at the same time. So living in a house that only has 1 sink in the bathroom and 1 shower is usually pretty annoying when you want to use them at the same time. So I wanted to make sure that there was not going to be any problems like that in this house. Now walking backstairs, you can see the big windows in the front porch that we installed. They really make the house look expensive and luxurious. So that was pretty much the house project that I made. What do you guys think about it? I love to hear about your experience of building houses in other countries, especially not Finland. I want to hear that. Is the building process pretty much similar or something completely different in other countries? What are the restrictions, what are the laws, and what are the ways that people build houses in other countries? Let me also know if you want to see a video about building an apartment building in Finland, as I just finished building a 5-story apartment building. I have a lot of material about it. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.